Good afternoon. Welcome to Theater 3. I am Captain Jonathan Chapman with J6 U.S. Cyber Command. At this moment, we're going to have a briefing by Defense Innovation Unit. The floor is yours, ma'am.
Awesome. Good morning. I think that the size of this audience confirms what we suspect, which is nobody knows who the heck we are. Just real quick, because I know we do have some of our portfolio companies here, but how many people know who the Defense Innovation Unit is, where we sit? Okay. So about half of you, kind of, sort of, okay.
How many people have made the mistake of spelling DIU, or in a conference call saying that you at DUI, what the hell do you do?
I think I did that for the first 6 months after coming here. So good morning. We're excited to be here and slowly but surely spread our propaganda about what we do and convert those that are a little leery of working with us. So we'll tell you a little about who we are, what we do, and we're also going to talk about what we don't do. So Kate Stowe, activated reservist. I support the cyber portfolio at DIU as the defense engagement lead, and next to me on my left with he was just explaining his younger looking his hair to us. I said, Johnson, you fit in Silicon Valley with that hair. Johnson Wu is our commercial engagement lead for the cyber portfolio, and most likely those of you in the audience that know us, you know him. And to the left of him is Andrew Hong, who is one of the program managers within the cyber portfolio, and he moonlights as a cyber warfare officer, so he comes with a highly technical background to support our team.
As well as Deputy Portfolio Director.
Oh, yes, that's important to note.
Thanks, Johnson.
Yeah. So I'll start by saying that the Defense Innovation Unit is a government unit, and we sit under OSD R&E until now. Our brand new, newly announced, started a whopping 2 days ago. Mr. Doug Beck has joined us as our director, and he is actually now a direct report to Dr. Hicks. So that's exciting for us. Gets kind of back to our roots of how we started as a direct report to Mr. Carter in recognizing a need to rapidly accelerate the adoption of commercial technology by the DoD. So that's really our mission. We're made up of military and contractors. A lot of our team comes from the commercial world, which I think strengthens us, and also is operators. So we've got really a lot of commercial experience and a lot of operational experience. And on the side, we do some acquisitions, which I think is the way it should be. So we're looking to leverage all the hard work that our commercial industry is doing. And when I mean by commercial, I'm talking about non-traditional commercial. We've got enough, frankly, if you're part of our defense innovation or a defense industry, I apologize, but you already get enough of our money. So we want to really leverage that cutting edge technology and lower that barrier of entry to attract many of the firms in this room that may or may not work regularly with the government, may have never worked with the government, have tried and walked away because it was a pain in the ass and it sucked up too many resources and it cost them too much money for the return because the margins are low. So our innovation is in our process to enable commercial companies to work with the government. So we say the Defense Innovation Unit, and people almost, you either get more innovation, or, oh, what cool thing do you guys do? And it's, okay.
Or, can I get a SIBR award through DIU?
Yes. All right, so moving through that, again, foot stomping that we are solely focused on non-traditional commercial. Here are our lines of effort. I would say DIU is one of the truly flat organizations in the department. We do do a lot of crosstalk between these portfolios. We manage a lot of projects that cross the line between, cyber and AI ML or autonomy, which is a pretty cool place to live, to be able to have a lot of crosstalk. One of the things you will notice here, though, there are no weapons portfolios. Again, we are solely focused on commercial, although I will say that there is some newer commercial technology around trajectory of bullets and missiles and things like that that we're adopting for our use. Same thing in the hypersonic world, really learning to find the commercial technology within a system that we can leverage. So I want to talk a little bit about where we fit. If you think about the technical readiness of a product, DIU is definitely not in the spaces of low technical readiness. We are looking for products that already have a commercial market, and we might want to do some small amounts of adoption for it. So when we talk about a prototype, it kind of falls into one of two categories. One, it's a commercial technology that's never been used in a particular military context setting or operational context. So that's one. Or we're going to adapt that commercial technology for our use. But that adaptation, when we talk about what we don't do, we are not going to have a contract that is, 100% non-recurring engineering or 80% or really any more than 20%, I think is kind of that sweet spot. Ideally, we really want to take it off the shelf and test it out and see if it works for us without a lot of adoption. So that kind of gives you an idea. We're not a traditional acquisition unit, and that we're also not GSA and going to buy toilet paper for your unit or anything like that, right? So this helps you kind of see where we're at in the life cycle. When I said that our innovation is really this process that you see to my left. This process was built out of a need to, again, rapidly get to commercial tech and get it into the government, and also lower the barrier of entry for our industry partners to work with us. And so, as you can see, this is a pretty simple process, and it doesn't take a whole ton of time. The time that we find, that gets sucked out is either negotiations or some contracting stuff, but we move really fast through the solicitation process. And I know Johnson is just itching to jump in here, so I'll let him.
So I think there's also, I think that there's a need for me to clarify a few things here. DIU started its life as DIUX. Back in the day, DIUX used to go out and proactively, preemptively procure solutions, bleeding edge commercial tech, bring them in using very, very small scale prototypes, and then we evangelize the technology and evangelize the cause, hoping that our mission partners, the operator partners, will pick it up and say, okay, we'll buy some. Our hit rate back in the DIUX days, sadly, was rather low. About 4 or 5 years ago, we rebooted the whole business process, and we flipped it 180 degrees. And we are very, very mission partner needs focused. Everything starts with a dialogue that Kate has with the operator partner. The operator partner will say, hey, give me some cloud computing or post-quantum encryption or zero trust. We will then interrogate them and say, what exactly are you asking for? What is your use case? Do you have people who can test it? Are you really going to buy that capability once it has proven itself? Do you have leadership endorsement? Do you have a budget? Now, I'm going to park that budget thing until later. But we usually ask all these questions before a lazy guy like me would lift a finger to start doing the commercial curation. And by what I say commercial curation is, I talk to VCs, I talk to analysts, the Gartners and the Forresters, and most importantly, because DoD is more of a fast follower than really a pioneer, especially in terms of cyber, I oftentimes use my pretty cocky Goldman Sachs rule. If you talk to a big bank CISO, if you talk to a Walmart CISO, or if you talk to, say, for example, a Schneider Electric CISO, things usually can't go wrong because they have critical mass, they have critical infrastructure that is currently adopting very well proven commercial products. So talking with these guys, like the analysts and the CISO types, will get us on the supply side to echo back some information that we can then present to the mission partner side and say, hey, I think what you're describing holds some water and it's not too cloudy, so to speak, pie in the sky. We can curate some good commercial products around it. So that's the top part where...
Right. A lot of upfront work.
Yeah, there's quite a bit of upfront work there. But once the sun, moon, stars align, DIU executes in very, very speedy and very efficient fashion. And we pride ourselves in not bothering the vendors to type up RFIs and help with the 200-page con ops and all that. So, like for example, I saw a vendor there called Devo. They acquired a company called Logic Hub, and when Logic Hub submitted their solicitation to us, it took those guys 2 hours. So, phase one.
That barrier to entry.
Yeah, the barrier to entry is extremely, extremely low. And so we have our playbook. We call our playbook the CSO, Commercial Solutions Opening. And we take advantage of something called
OTA.
OTA 102371B, or now they've renumbered it. Look up what 4022 is. That's pretty much what our playbook is based on. Phase one solicitation, usually it's a very short paragraph that we publish on our website, and the solicitation will run for about maybe 1 to 2 weeks. And
Johnson, how do they get that solicitation? How do they know it's out there?
Go to www.diu.mil or
sign up. You can actually sign up to get them sent.
You can sign up, or you can present even for unsolicited solutions that you may have. You can contact cet@diu.mil or contact me, and I will put you into the system. At least if you have collateral of a good, well commercially validated product. Again, we're not a cyber shop. We don't broker between you and one single mission partner. It's always an open solicitation. So when the open solicitation runs, all we need is 5 pages of a paper or 15 pages of a PowerPoint deck. If you have links to, say, for example, deployment guides or manuals of a pre-existing commercial product, the better. But we do not want you to submit a 200-page RFI response. So usually that thing, phase one will run, the solicitation will run for 2 weeks. Then we will discuss with the operator partner and their subject matter experts, and we will down select the solicitations to roughly, usually I would say our track record has been like 8 to maybe 15 phase two, advancing to the phase where we would invite the vendor to come in and to do pitches and actual demos of the product. It can be virtual, it can be in person, and after that, so let me maybe roll
Yep.
back a little bit to the phase one criteria. There is actually quite a bit of flexibility, but the phase one evaluation criteria is fair and square. Relevance, technical merit, innovativeness. I need to clarify a little bit about innovativeness. A lot of vendors say, of course I'm innovative. I have 5 PhDs and 30 patents. The thing is, our innovativeness means, does the solution represent an underutilized capability in the Department of Defense? If you happen to have a product that's already the incumbent program of record for that exact use case, we strongly actually discourage you from presenting the solution, because obviously the operator partner is asking us to look at newer alternatives that are innovative and differentiates from the existing program of record. So a lot of people get that innovativeness point confused, so I need to clarify that. So once you get to phase two, we also look at commercial viability, product viability, rough order of magnitude price to embark on the prototype, rough order of magnitude price for the pilot deployment, production deployment after the prototype, schedule, and also data rights and sometimes IP rights. In terms of schedule, DIU has an inclination of period of performances from anywhere between 6 months to 18 months. And the reason is, we want to leave the longer term projects to the bigger program offices where they can run like the RFI. Go traditional if you need to architect something really grand and really big. But if you need a point solution that that serves your immediate needs, DIU is the way to go. So 6 to 18 months. Sometimes we extend the prototype, and also a lot of times when the phase twos kick off, there will be other operator partners, other mission partners, they'll come in and say, hey, DIU, you're doing this. I'm interested, can I pitch in? They will pitch in, then there will be more DoD operator partners piling onto the project as sponsors or evaluators.
So I think that's something to note, both from a customer, meaning government customer, and also industry partner perspective, is that, you know, if you have a technology and you know that there are multiple government customers that are interested in it, and you know you've won or you're in the run for a CSO, you can have your government customer contact me or our debt team, and we can invite them to be part of the team. They can be a fast follower and just wait till the prototype is done and then take advantage of the production contract, or they could put funding in it if they have maybe a specific need that's slightly tweaked. We can take that because we're joint and we sit in OSD, we can take all different, services funding, colors of funding. So that is an advantage from the industry perspective, as well as the fact that we don't want to continually buy the same stuff over and over again. So one of the biggest roles that I have is seeking out other offices that have similar needs and making them aware of the opportunity to be a part of that CSO and hopefully save them time and resources.
I noticed that there are many vendor partners here in the audience. I want to clarify one thing. There is a price to pay when it comes to working with DIU. And a lot of times they'd say, oh, do I need to enroll membership into a consortium or and all that? No, you do not need to be in a consortium. The real price to pay is competition. Say, for example, if you happen to have a DoD prospect approaching you saying, hey, I don't quite know how to buy your product in small quantities for this prototype, then you might say, okay, let's find DIU. The best thing DIU can do is to run a competition for the problem that your operator partner prospect is able to articulate to you. There is no such thing as a, hey, DIU, find me a deal.
We don't do sole source.
We don't help you sole source. So this is the price to pay. But if you are confident enough that your product is the best, then, of course, you should not be afraid of dealing with DIU.
Yep. Good point. I also want to note, Johnson says operator a lot. I think one of the pivots that DIU is doing too is that we're also beginning to partner a lot more with our programs of record and the acquisition community versus in the past we were fairly laser pointed on the operational community. I think we've broadened that. We see that DIU can really be a player in that make-buy decision that the acquisition community is making in their process. All right, Johnson.
Let's talk about transition.
Okay. Why? What is one of the best reasons for a company to work with DIU in that transition?
So, let's talk about SBIRs first. A lot of people say, "Hey, I got a SBIR Phase 1 or I got a Fast Track SBIR Phase 2." The transition usually happens when somebody says, I'm gonna pump more money into a SBIR Phase 3 and hopefully we'll get you a TAC-FI and all that. With SBIR Phase 2s, even with SBIR Phase 2s, you can't buy something that has been produced in bulk. You have to defend your why you're worthy of the grant. Manpower, parts, and all that stuff. But with DIU, with the flexibility here, is you can actually use, just directly sell. So that's the prototype part. In terms of transition, if you successfully exit from a prototype versus successfully conclude a SBIR Phase 2, okay? If you successfully conclude a DIU prototype, any customer within the DoD can come and say, hey, I want this capability, although I'm not the original funding partner or prototype partner of this. Can I buy it? Hell yeah, you can. So it is department-wide, and as long as the product fits and there is as long as you're not trying to sell a phone to the new partner where the prototype is for a bottle of water,
right,
you're usually good.
Yeah, so once you have that success memo, any government partner that you come across that wants to buy what you prototyped for us, that success memo acts as a sole source justification, if you understand FAR terms. But it is what a contracting officer needs in order to just give you the contract as a company. So that's a really big carrot. I mean, the fact that once you exit successfully a prototype phase, that prototype can then be purchased by any government customer. In fact, DIU has, and you will see the link at the end of the presentation, a solutions catalog where your prototype goes into that solutions catalog, and we point government customers all the time to our solutions catalog and say, hey, you don't even need to run a CSO. Just go look at the solution. We already have one for you. Go buy that. So that's a really big differentiator.
And it's also one of the jobs of the project managers, especially within DIU Cyber, is if you are currently performing on a prototype contract and things are going well, we will spare no effort in helping you evangelize to other departments so that the production transition can be scaled up
right,
as big as can be.
That's what we're judged on, is our ability to transition tech. So that's a big deal. If we go through a prototype phase and it goes nowhere, nobody's won, right? So That's why we can be selective at times, as Johnson said, in the upfront, ensuring that there really is a transition plan. But then throughout the process and throughout the prototyping phase, we're working hard to find other customers to ensure the transition as well as grow the transition. We good here?
I think we're good.
Are there any questions? Because I think we've just talked about a lot with this process, and it's really our bread and butter, so. Sure. So phase 0 is really where Johnson and I work, and that is that upfront. So I'm going out and getting a government customer. Johnson is continuing to scour the market and understand what is out there. Once we have a government customer, we're going to ask a series of questions, things. What is it? Something to play, right? They need to have a transition partner. They need to have a transition plan. They need to have funding. They need to have a problem. We're not in the business of you coming and saying, I need this specific widget, technology. We want to know what your problem is. We spend a lot of time in this phase, the PM, typically then the PM's kind of picked, and that curation part, even though our problem statements or AOIs are only a page to 2 pages, we spend a lot of time ensuring that they're written, one, in commercial language so that they're easy to understand, and two, that they're getting after the problem, not the solution, which I think is as a program manager, that's something we don't get trained in. We're trained in requirements. I need to meet these requirements to get to this solution, instead of asking ourselves, really, what are we trying to solve for?
Yeah, and I'll just jump in real quick, Kate.
You got to turn
I think it's important too, because not everything should go through DIU. Like Johnson mentioned, if it's a huge architecture project, then it may not be a good fit for us. So, the PMs on the team have to ensure that the project kind of meets our mission, and that we're able to kind of handle that. So again, we're trying to bring commercial tech off the shelf, do some adaptation as needed, but we don't want to reinvent or invent something completely new, because we're just not built for that type of project.
Are you a vendor? Okay, great. So if you're a vendor, usually if you have a new product and you have a prospective customer, a lot of times the customer will say, well, it's nice. I don't know how to test you out because I cannot accept a product for free. On the other hand, I don't know how to roll you into an IDIQ contract with a prime or something like that because this capability is new, not covered in the contract. And your prospect will also say, hey, look, if I have to write sole source justification for you, I will have to expend 2 people's time and a whole year to write that darn thing to try your stuff out. How do we go about testing these things? A lot of times, there is like fallout funds or RDT&E funds allocated by various customers, or in very rare cases, DIU, for transformative projects. If there is something new, there's that little funding there. We can help you bypass that sole source justification thing and run a meaningful competitive solicitation to get your product into the hands of the warfighter, not for a lab demo, but a meaningful prototype, pointing towards, fast forward 1 year, you get your thing in production, or at least a PATO for limited production.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify too, you're not bypassing the sole source, you're just running through a much quicker competitive process.
Yeah.
So at the end of it,
competition on steroids.
you go through a competition, and then you get sole source justification at the end. It's just a way to fast track that process. And a lot of entities just don't have that process set up, so we've already have that established, so we can make that happen much faster. We average from the end of the solicitation closing to contract award is usually between 60 to 90 days. It
depends. It's oftentimes customer driven. because they are getting their funding to send to us. So I'm not sure we foot stomp that. We're free for the government, but we don't bring the money. So we're really the enabler. We are a force enabler in that we'll do the work, we'll bring the commercial companies to the table, we'll run the solicitation, we will run the prototype project, we'll contract, do all of that, but we are reliant on the funding from the customer. So that's kind of a big foot stomp there. During this phase, though, another reason, so it can take some time. I know right now we're in curation with a project that's been ongoing for some months now, and the reason is that the initial customer really didn't have a lot of funding for it. So we are out, and that's part of my job, is I'm out finding other government customers for them that may have funding, and using my network and leveraging the network of within DIU to do that. So it can be really fast. We've had customers that come in the door and they say, I think, what was it, DC3 is like, we have a problem, we have the funding, we are ready to go. Okay, well then it's just a matter of some paperwork, getting that problem statement curated, and going through our process internally to get approval to do the project. So again, we're judged on transition, so we kind of get that. Our leadership says, show me, show me your plan, and we have to get that approval before we can go. But again, that could be a couple days. It just depends.
Yeah.
Good.
Keep
All
going.
right. All right. This is just a nice picture of our team, but it really just shows you we're pretty agile and small. DIU is working to scale. The more and more that we get our name out there and stuff, we're getting more customers in. But the team right now is pretty small, but I will say mighty. They carry the majority of the projects for DIU, if you can believe that. And a lot of the majority of the transitions from DIU come from the cyber portfolio. All right. So one of the other things I'll just quickly note here that is a differentiator, and I think that it appeals to industry and our government customers alike, is that where it says program manager next to the name, I'm going to point out Ben right there is one of our new program managers to DIU. He is coming from Cybercom. He is an operator. He has been in the field. He has a technical expertise that if you've ever worked with the government in other contracts and in program offices, you probably didn't find that level of technical expertise. Like I said, I'm a career program manager. I don't have a technical background, right? And that's who you're coming across in DIU. You're getting the operators as your PM, so they're going to really be able to talk about your tech with you in a meaningful way. And I think also they have a vested interest in bringing the best to the field. All right, Johnson.
So lines of effort, of course, IT security modernization. We're partnered with the likes of DISA. Remote workforce enablement. We've done quite a number of remote projects. One of them actually with DISA, mobile endpoint protection. It's advanced malware detection for mobile phones. Cyber warfare operations includes our Hunt Forward project. I think Sealing Tech got that one. Advanced tactical comms. So after I joined in 2019, we started sort of dipping our toes into 5G. We started with private 5G, and now we have also graduated a capability of, it's a global hotspot using a combination of satellite mesh and cellular technologies that work very well with tactical networks. Next. So DIU Cyber's transition rate is really high for a small portfolio like ours, and the transition size is pretty high. For example, we have Before my time, we've transitioned cyber threat intelligence a project with Recorded Future. That was a big one. When I started, we transitioned one for cyber asset inventory with the folks over at Axonius. And we also transitioned secure cloud management. I'll have to elaborate a little bit more when we get to the slides. But that also doesn't mean that we don't take on experimental projects. We have secure wireless intrusion management. I know that Epic is here and also Bastille is here. That's great. All right, next slide. All right, so several people have asked very recently, hey, DIU, do you only work with big companies? Do you only work with In-Q-Tel portfolio companies? This has been asked of us like many times. It just so happens that I would say up to 20%, 30% of our awardees have some sort of work program or our portfolio of In-Q-Tel. But we're friends of In-Q-Tel.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're complementary.
Yeah, we're very
different ends of the technical spectrum.
Exactly. They serve the IC. They invest money and take shares or issue match-made one-to-one work programs, whereas we run open solicitations. So if you take a look at this bumper sticker slides, you will see big companies like, Google, Palo Alto, McAfee. Well, there's even a prime there, SAIC. So we are extremely
diverse,
problem/solution focused, and we don't care who you are and what stage you are, except for one exception, which is, do you have a validated product? If you have 10 people who have PhDs and you have written a lot of papers at whatever university, but you don't have a commercial product, it's a no-go.
Right.
But if you are a 3-person company that has something that, say for example, Goldman Sachs or Wells Fargo has deployed and is using your product, say for example, our partners at Grey Noise, they had, 3-4 people when they first submitted the solution, and our challenge to them was, what exactly are you providing your customer? Does it address a critical need that they have? And do you think you can scale to the DoD? Thank goodness their product does not touch the DoD. If their product were touching the DoD, say for example, a CASB product like Secure Cloud Management, they probably would not have gotten it. So it all depends on the use case, commercial validation, how differentiated your IP is, and also the risk appetite of the customer. Usually for subscriptions or anything that's like a threat feed or an Intel feed, we have very little, I would say, hurdles to getting the thing deployed. But on the other hand, if you take a look at Secure Cloud Management, for example, the McAfees and the Palo Altos and the Googles and the Zscalers, they embarked on a project that essentially DIU started evaluating CASB and SASE technologies for our own use, because we don't use the border gateway. We don't use the DISA border gateway. We're a wild child. And that actually became the precursor of what's now known as Thunderdome. DISA, the Emerging Tech Directorate, took a lot of the learnings and also the results of our testing with our 3PAO and our CSSP, and adopted that, and that's how they fast-tracked their Thunderdome project. So a little bit of bragging about how DIU commercial engagements go out there and start, like we try to think out of the box. For example, one of Andrew's projects, we did cryptocurrency analysis and attribution. And at one point in time, we thought that there would only be like maybe 2 or 3 credible vendors that have gotten significant commercial validation, but we actually found a Bitcoin exchange, Coinbase. They actually have a product that helps track cryptocurrency. And so we oftentimes think outside the box. We reach out to our networks and we talk to analysts and get information that has yet to be published to do our due diligence and also our curation of solutions.
So, Johnson, I do want to say that, well, first of all, Johnson's amazing at what he does. But just recently, in fact, within this week, we had a customer come to us and say, we have this problem. We've already looked everywhere, and we only think really there's one company that can provide a solution for us. And we said, okay, but what do you have to lose going through our process? Who knows? We might find somebody that you don't know about. Oh, no, we know. We've been to every conference. We've done all our market research. So we put this, but they took a gamble. We put the CSO out for them. And we just recently, I think yesterday or the day before, selected a company that they didn't even know about. A small non-traditional commercial company that they were unaware about. And I think that shows the power of the work that the commercial engagement team does, and also shows that, as much as we'd like to think in the acquisition community we understand market research, frankly, we really don't. And we don't have the connections, and that's why most of our set team comes from industry and the VC world. We don't have those connections that they do. We can't talk the talk like they can. And we struggle to find the right technologies because of that. And SAM.gov is not a way to get to the people we really want to. So very much value the work that Johnson and his team does. And I think yesterday is proof that this works and is why we do it. All right, go ahead now.
Keep going. Thank you. So these are some of the metrics. I'm going to pause this slide and have you read a little bit. I don't think I need to narrate the figures here. The key thing is we are slightly in favor of searching for companies that are VC funded or have, well, actually, correction here. Most important thing is commercial validation and diversification. You're not counting on this DIU project as an alternative to a cyber phase 3.
Right. You don't have all government contracts.
And we're trying to leverage commercial investments. The VC invested in a commercial company, and the commercial company has validated their products with commercial customers. Hate to say, we love the commercial customers serving as guinea pigs, and we're going to be the fast followers. Once you're commercially validated, you're good enough to transact with the DoD. And we think that we will gain significant savings because of the preemptive investment and also the gymnastics and all the hurdles that you have gone through validating your commercial product.
Right, and if it's commercially sustained, we don't have to sustain it. And that's also a very big savings for us, as everybody in this room, right, because we're all taxpayers. So I think it's important to have that strong commercial market that's going to sustain and update and support a product. One of the cool things that we didn't really talk about, though, is that first bullet there, the 400 plus submitted solutions. The CSO process has shown us time and time again that when we write the problem, really at the problem level, we get a lot of solutions, far more than I ever would see through SAM.gov or any of the more traditional routes to get solicitations. And we really get, when we talk about the innovation, I mean, I'll talk a little bit about the AGE project, right? Where the problem that came to us is, hey, we've got all this aerospace ground equipment, and we can't keep track of it. And we spent a lot of time of airmen or soldiers going out and like literally tracking down a HVAC cart or a ladder. And can you leverage some of this, tracking? Like we all have these tracking chips now, and we've got all different ways. So we said, sure. And we wrote the problem just like that. We can't keep track of our stuff. And the solutions that we got were really kind of interesting. We had everything from we'll put sensors at the gate, so as things are coming in and out, we can track it that way. I think one of my favorite ones is FOD, which is a capability that was built and used to pick up stuff off of the ground. Had all these sensors that were looking down. Said, well, why don't we just turn our sensors up, and we'll just scan everything around us and track that way. So that was really cool.
Yeah, and for that particular project, currently we have 3 awardees, and it shows the diversification and how unbiased DIU is. One is a Swiss company, Kudelski, also known as Nagra. There's another one, Voss is a Florida-based company, and I forgot what the third one is.
I think
Let's
it
go
was
back.
FOD, wasn't it?
No, let's go back to one slide. There is
I think it's
Voss, and there's one that is Australia-based. I don't think they're in it yet because they just got awarded. So we have Spanish companies, Finnish companies, Australian companies. What else?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're except for cases when the partner says absolutely
Right.
U.S. companies only, we are agnostic. Of course, we love our fellow American companies, but it's all in this case it's
Best
all
tech.
tech merit based.
I think to note there too, especially in this crowd, DIU does have the ability to obfuscate. So many of our customers don't necessarily want anyone to know what they're buying, why they're buying it, what they're doing. And we can release solicitations merely that say the government or DIU is interested in X, Y, or Z, or we have this problem. Self comes to the meetings. The other thing I do want to foot some, which reminds me, is that we work for our DoD customer. It's not our money. We work for them, so it's their decision at the award. They pick who they want. We'll advise. We bring technical experts, things like that. But at the end of the day, it's really the DoD's customers' money, and they make that decision. Our program managers will run the project, but we want investment of time by the government customer as well in the process, so that they own the solution and are invested in transitioning it. I think
Okay,
we hit
we
about
have
everything.
5 minutes.
Yeah.
So maybe take some questions.
Yeah, let's take some questions.
It's just a list too of what we transitioned last year.
Yes.
Direct.
No consortium.
No
required.
consortium. It's New England Brady. Yep. How we work with the acquisition side, or Sure. I think that part of that started even just coming from there myself. I was like, why are we not talking to PEOs? Why are we not talking to acquisition officers? I think another DoD partner, our debt actually lead, Cramden and I went to the SAF-AQ, so Air Force Acquisition Conference, with all the fast burners, a couple hundred people there, and we asked the question, who knows DIU? And Crandon had been working for DIU, I think, since almost the beginning, 5 years, something like that. He was shocked when almost nobody raised their hand. I only knew about it because, it was just a chance meeting with Cramden one day. Other than that, I didn't know about it either. So we've really spent a lot of time briefing PEOs, briefing at brown bags. On the Air Force side, we've had a lot of success. In fact, PEO Digital is a model acquisition partner for us. What we did with them is ran a few projects and then built an MOA or MOU that they have adopted our process. So we kind of we taught them what to do, and now they let their own contracts. They utilize our network, our CSO. When we release, they utilize all of that, but they're running their own projects now. And that's really, we talk about DIU from a perspective very tactically here around how we run projects and what we do. But there's a side of DIU that is focused on changing the culture of how we acquire, especially commercial technology. So spending a lot of time with the PEOs, teaching them what we do, asking to go layers down. We just spoke to a DAU class. I'm going out to AFIT to talk to the advanced PM class. So evangelizing is what we've been doing, and really telling them it's about where you make that make-buy decision. We're not here to take work away from you. We're just a tool in your toolbox. There's certainly things that we are going to say that's just not our swim lane. But just invite us to the table when you are making that decision, and let us just help. We can bring market research. We can strengthen whichever decision you're going to make. Does that answer? Or just stand a little closer to the table.
I'll speak louder. I came a little late, so I only got
Good question.
Oh
Good question.
boy, I hope I can answer within two minutes here. So, it all depends on the customer and also the vendors. Some customers, when they approach us, they specify OEM vendors only, please, no integrators. However, for example, the ICS SOC as a service project that we did for Army Material Command and Army Netcom, they say no OEM vendors, experienced integrators who can prove that they have worked with critically adopted vendors only. So it really depends on the customer's appetite. Normally, because we're more focused on point solutions, we try to discourage integrators. There are a lot of times vendors would say, "Oh, I don't have a cleared person in my staff, nor do I have somebody who speaks government lingo. Can I bring in an integrator?" And my advice to them is, be very careful picking your integrator partner. We have had issues where the integrator partner, for some rhyme or reason, fails to deliver, or when it transitions to production, they decided to give DoD a sticker shock. So, and then the OEM partner says, "Oh my God, what happened to my deal?" Sorry, you're not a signing entity of the contract. You punted it to an integrator, and sadly, the contract is with the integrator. So, yeah.
So we do keep track of our successes and track companies. And when we say like they're a portfolio company, we often keep relationship with the companies that have success, that we've worked with. I will note that we do not let the transition, the production OTA contract So that responsibility falls on the government customer to let that contract. There are some rare cases where but we will definitely coach through that. So there's still reluctance on the side of government contracting around, this idea of using a success memo as sole source justification for a production OTA, or even just letting OTAs in general. We've got a great contracting team that coaches many of the government offices on how to do that.
So, talking about contracting, where do you get your contracting officers? Are they internal? Does the sponsoring
Both.
agency provide it?
So-
and then do you guys need more? Or have you ever partnered with GSA?
We do partner with GSA. So a couple things there. So we have a partnership with GSA to expedite our portfolio companies onto schedules. So we look at, again, if you go back to our mission statement, we want to push funding and grow our non-traditional commercial base, right? So we have a vested interest in getting the companies more business. And so one way we can do that is through GSA. So I actually managed that relationship for some time, and we'll hold their hand, and GSA holds their hand to get these companies that would normally, again, not want to spend the money or the resources to go through the award process. Additionally, so you asked about our contracting team. DIU has an internal contracting team that we are growing as fast as we can, but we also contract out to WHS and Army New Jersey to do contracting for us on a fee-for-service kind of basis. We don't use the assisted acquisition. You guys are more geared towards one-on-one relationships versus being a partner with an organization like ours. All right, I think we are out of time, but we'll hang out for a little while. So if there are questions that didn't get answered, or you want to know how to contact us, I think there you go. I'll leave that up for a minute.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you. Spread the word.
Yep.